Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoyed a lively discussion at lunch if you stayed with the group or had a few minutes to stretch and have some lunch, and now you're ready to go into the final stretch of the conference. So this session is panel of market managers discussing eFMNP, and our panelists are Tom Craig, who's pardon me, Tom, market manager, Plymouth Farmers Market, Diania Franks, market manager for the South Bend Farmers Market, and Felicia Say, who's the Hill Farmers Market Aging and In-Home Services. And the session will be moderated by Jered Blanchard with a background in education, social services, and organizational leadership. Jered Blanchard joined Purdue University Extension in 2015 as a community wellness coordinator. His work focuses on addressing policies, systems, and environmental changes to make the community a healthier place for all people. Currently, he is working on several projects related to food access and food security in Allen County and is one of 2 nutrition education program state specialists focusing on farmers markets. So Jered, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deb. I have a really easy job today. I just get to facilitate a conversation with a few really cool people. And before I get started, I asked each of them to kind of send a little bit of information about themselves so that we could have a better understanding of who they are. And so I'm just going to read just a little bit about some of the really cool stuff that they sent. So Tom is the market manager of the Plymouth Farmers Market and has been for 21 years. Tom is also a vendor at that market selling fruits, veggies, and honey products. And his wife sells crafts that she makes as well. Tom is the beekeeping superintendent for St. Joseph County 4-H and has 80 hives of his own. Tom works with Marshall County Food Council, Purdue, and the State Department of Health, helping other markets to get started. He's been married for 51 years with 3 kids, 9 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Congratulations, Tom. Excuse me, Diania Franks has been the market manager of South Bend's Farmer Market for 3 years, and she lives in LaPorte County. And before joining the South Bend Market, she was involved in long-term health care. And she gave a little bit of wisdom in her bio that I really like. She said that she recognizes the similarities in both of these careers. They might seem like they're different, but she says a little extra time, funds, and information can go a long way in helping both. I thought that was really wise. And then Felicia is just a phenomenal person that I've had the chance to work with in Fort Wayne. She's very, very active in the community, especially in health and wellness. But she is the nutrition and wellness program supervisor at Aging and In-Home Services now, which is our fantastic senior service center in our area. And in her previous role, Felicia oversaw the HEAL markets, which is healthy eating, active living. You might remember Felicia from last year. She spoke at this forum talking about the HEAL markets. But she, in that role, focused on reducing food insecurity through these farmers markets, which were located in food deserts in Fort Wayne. So those are our awesome panelists today. Like Deb said, today's topic is going to be on eFMNP. And yesterday, Logita did a fabulous job talking about that program and kind of the details of it, some of its history and how it runs. And so today we're not going to necessarily be talking a lot about the ins and outs of the eFMNP program, as much as we're going to be talking about the experiences that these 3 markets have had with it. So as we discussed last year, the eFMNP program was kind of in its pilot year, and these 3 brave souls said that they would try running this pilot program. And so we have, I think, a lot to learn from them. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into some questions. I have a series of questions for each of them, and then at the end, we will do some Q&A. So maybe put your questions in the chat, and then we'll kind of address those at the end, given the time that we have. So I've not asked them which one wants to go first, so I guess I'm just going to pick at random. But first, really what I'd like to do is have you maybe introduce yourself and your market and describe your market a little bit, because I think that might be helpful for some of the other folks on this call to kind of know what your market is like, what the setting is, just some general information about your market. Felicia, would you start?
I would love to. So as Jered said, I'm Felicia Say. I used to be over the Hill Farm Market in Fort Wayne. And so really those markets were, I guess how I would describe them, where they were very community partnership focused. So at the markets, we had agencies from Aging in Home Services, who does the Senior Farmers Market produce voucher, so where I'm now working. And then we also had the WIC side of that on site, and we had Double Up Indiana, and then another grantor through St. Joe Community Health Foundation and Parkview Health that allowed us to double those FMNP benefits. So we really had a collection of partners invested in the Heal market, so that then clients and customers could come and kind of have a one-stop shop where they could get their benefits, get those benefits doubled, and then shop for healthy produce. So I was over there for 3 years, and now, so I really saw kind of the market side of it, the customer side, the farmer side. And now that I am at Aging in Home Services, I'll see kind of the provider side, what it looks like to be able to distribute those benefits. So I'm excited.
Thanks, Felicia. That does put you in a unique position to kind of see both sides of this project.
Yeah.
Diana, would you go next and introduce your market a little bit?
Sure. My name is Diana. I'm with the South Bend Farmers Market. I'll shortly be there 3 years. So this part of everything is all new to me. There was a wonderful lady, Becky Lies. She helped us get SNAP back in our market after not having it for years. And we got that back, and she helped us get the Double Up. And then, she's helped us so much. I can't thank her enough to point us in the right direction. But yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. Sure, there were some bumps in the beginning, but we figured out how to get through them, and we only intend to keep going higher.
Thanks, Diana. Tom, would you jump in?
Sure. I'm Tom Kebb, retired, busy as I ever was, even working. I've been with our market this is our 21st year. We started out in a little parking lot with buildings that were kind of falling down around us. Parks Department and the city moved in and started redesigning, and we helped design where I sit at now. I probably have one of the prettiest farmers markets around as far as new. It's just been done in the last 8 or 9 years completed, but we're now working on phase 2 of that same area. But it's been an interesting transition from the very beginning till today. I'm like Diane. Becky has helped us through a lot of things. A lot of things are new. As you can tell, I'm a little bit older, so I'm a little slower on the draw when it comes to computer stuff. And I think my biggest thing I would say is people like Becky are what's going to help our markets grow. She's always willing to help and step up and step out and help us make the right corrections and head the right direction. And I'm running about 30 to 40 vendors at any given point in time through my market, from the beginning to the end of the market. So I'm doing fairly well.
Okay, that's a great point. So we have some markets here represented that are different sizes, and all of them have introduced the eFMNP program in probably different ways. Let's jump into the next question. So what I'd like to ask is, what effect did the eFMNP pilot project have on your market in 2023? That's kind of a big question, but maybe highlight some of the biggest impacts that you saw in your market from that program. Felicia, would you want to start?
So when I was considering this question, I think for us, the biggest impact it had was really just the community involvement. Like, I felt like our community partnerships and relationships really grew this last year, due to just the fact that the agencies that would come, the senior and WIC agencies, they had to learn so much new stuff. The clients and the farmers all had to learn a lot of new stuff. And so I felt like it kind of built a special community at the markets because everyone was really focused on helping each other. So was it, this is only my program that I'm going to see is the WIC program, for instance. No, it was all of us were kind of trying to figure out the information together, really just trying to help the clients and the customers use their new benefit system to understand their new system. And for the Hill Farm markets, a good portion of our customers are Burmese speaking. So then you had another element, right, of the language barriers and just kind of getting through that. And so I think that's where also I saw the community really come together because I would see, maybe she was a WIC mom waiting in line, but she could speak Burmese. And then we would have a senior client who needed some help with the app and they also spoke Burmese. And so then this customer would help another customer. And so it was really that community partnership that I feel like took it to the next step where just so many of the people that came to the markets were willing to help each other. And I think that was for me was what stood out the most this year.
That's an excellent thing. As somebody who goes to the heel markets myself, I can vouch for that. It was beautiful seeing all of the different organizations come together. We just heard from Mary Tyndall on our last session, but she was one of the partners who was there most weeks with the St. Joseph Community Health Foundation, and she was helping in a lot of ways in front and behind the scenes. We had our hospital system that was there, who was helping Health Visions, and Felicia's team were doing a phenomenal job. It was beautiful seeing everybody come together to make the program work. Thanks, Felicia. Diana, do you want to share?
Yeah. Just like Felicia, we had people who stepped up, done way above what we would ever anticipated to help us. We don't have as much of a language barrier, but we have a lot of older people who they're not cell phone savvy or computer savvy, but we had people who are willing to help them to be able to be there. And we had other people coming in, medical, that wanted to do shot clinics, and it spiraled. It brought in more and more things. We've seen a lot of returning customers. So it was a win-win in our community.
Great, thank you. Tom, would you like to share how it impacted your farmers market?
Well, I'm not sure that it's impacted it as of yet. We were, as a lot of folks were struggling to get in and get on and get it set up and make sure everything was right. Again, that's where asking for help is a plus. And I know a lot of us think that we especially myself, I know I can do these things, but you know what, this was one I couldn't put together on my own. I just struggled with it. I had one of my vendors who had just got done setting it up, and he was asking me all kinds of questions. I had people coming in going, when are you guys going to start doing this? We don't even know when we're getting our vouchers. There was a lot of questions that were unanswerable up until it finally kicked in. And I think when I tell you here shortly, I'll tell you a little story about when it first kicked in. And I think you'll get a really kick out of it because it was really neat. I got a lot of phone calls from a lot of people outside of the area wanting to come to the market just to use the WIC program. So it's going to implement a lot of things. People are already excited about this year. Let me tell you that. They can't wait. They think it's going to be easy to work with for them and for us. So, but I have a lot of Amish, so I have to figure out that one yet.
So that speaks to maybe some potential barriers that we might need to discuss in the future, but sounds like a lot of excitement for everything. That's great to hear.
I'm excited about it. Absolutely.
So this kind of piggybacks off the back of that question. We like to know the different impacts that these programs have. Did your market or did your vendors experience any kind of financial benefits or gains through the eFMNP program? Thomas, we'll start with you this time. We'll go backwards.
Well, that's where my funny story comes in. Being it got started late, I had a phone call from a girl from another town, 25 miles away, asked if we took it. I said, absolutely. She came and saw me. She bought a bunch of stuff. And this is where it gets funny because she handed me her card. I ran her card. Everything was going good, except for I started losing a signal. So I stepped back and turned my back. And she had 3 little kids with her. And when I turned back around, she was gone. And her card didn't clear. So I tried to call her back and she didn't answer my phone. And I wonder, this is twofold. Flags up, make sure you do these things right while the people are still standing there. And 2, be prepared. Sometimes you have to move out of the way to get to a good reception area where you can actually make your phones work to take these things. And it takes a few seconds, but things happen. And I just think that's what's funny about the whole thing is it just happened to be the first trial run on the system. And when I turned around, she was gone. It was like, oh, that was interesting. So I just thought maybe somebody was playing tricks on me.
Oh, that's an unfortunate experience having to lose out on your first transaction.
It's all right. It's no big deal.
Hopefully it wasn't repeated very often throughout the season.
No, but everything else went smoothly. So I was impressed with it. So yeah.
Excellent. Diana, how did you see any financial impact in your markets or in your vendor sales?
Oh, yes, we did. All the vendors who participated, their feedback was absolute positive. They wanted to do it again. I had some vendors who didn't decide to do it this year, and I think they kind of felt a little bad there when everything was happening that they didn't sign up because they seen the people, their vendors across the way, more and more customers coming to them. And I mean, like he was talking about funny stories. I can remember we were waiting. It's like that first person, everybody's watching and waiting to see when's our first person going to come in. And when they did, there was like probably 8 or 9 of us standing around watching this first transaction. It was just the most wonderful feeling in the world that we made it through all the process and we finally made it here.
That's exciting. And we find that sometimes with incentive programs that maybe sometimes people are a little bit nervous to start them, but once they are implemented, other farmers or other vendors kind of look at that and say, oh, okay, that does look like something I might be interested in. And so it just takes some really brave people to start it off. Felicia, how about you? Did we see any impact with our farmers at the heel markets?
So sadly, I don't have all my numbers since I switched jobs, but I would say like for things that they, kind of talked to me about, well, first off, they were all so pleased with the turnout that they had and just, the funds that they received through the program. And I know one benefit that they talked to me about was how now with the new system, it's direct deposit. And so one farmer, he mentioned that he didn't live so close to a bank. And so now having it as this direct deposit model, it made it easier for him to get paid and to like have that receipt of his payment so that then he could do a better job of, remembering how much money he made and just doing a better job of his inventory through that. So I know that that was something that he had mentioned to me that he really enjoyed about the new program.
Excellent. Well, okay, moving along from the financial questions. Let's say that, theoretically, there are some farmers or markets and vendors that are on this call that might want to try this out this season. We talked yesterday about all of the eFMNP sign-up events that are coming up this spring. And there's a big push to really expand the program this year. What advice would you have to market managers that are on the fence about whether or not they want to participate in the program this year? Thomas, let's start with you again.
Sure. First thing I would say is start early. You know, Legita, you put some stuff out there. Christina sends stuff out all the time, and they're telling you, they're saying the same thing I'm going to say. Start early. I mean, right now is a perfect time. You know, our market's a little slow. We can do some things. It's a little bit of a process. That way, if you have a glitch, you can call somebody, you know, and get connected to somebody who can help you. You know, you might be one of those kind of people, get really lucky and go flying right straight through it, and you'll be hooked up. It's easy. It really is easy. And it's easy to operate. And I think that's the biggest thing. Just start early, get started, and be patient, and take your steps one at a time.
Excellent advice. Diana?
Yeah, as Tom said, patience. I mean, you're going to have bumps in the road. I mean, I know this will be our second year, but I know there's still going to be little bumps here, little bumps there. But I would tell anybody to do it. It's a building block in your community. So yes, definitely. But do be patient, because if you're not patient, it's not going to work out. There's so many wonderful people like you out there to help. Reach out. Take that first step and reach out for the help. You will be glad you did.
You talk about reaching out. I'll put another plug in for Becky. She's on the call, and 2/3 of our presenters this morning are here because she said that you guys were rock stars and that you would be able to talk about this. And I know that there are a lot of CWCs on the call that are eager and interested in helping their farmers markets in any way possible, and especially with programs like this. Felicia?
Funny because I also wrote down in my notes to be patient. But just be patient with the process. I mean, I would 100% encourage it. Like, it was so rewarding getting, like I know Thomas and Diana both shared, but just getting to see that first customer use their benefits, getting to see the farmer accept those benefits was so rewarding. It was wonderful. And so I would also, just as Diana said, to reach out to really find, you know, your partners in your area who are kind of involved in the process, and maybe they're involved in different areas. But what we did at the Hill Markets was I met routinely with Jered, phenomenal, helped me so much to understand the farmer side of it. Then I also met with the WIC and the senior side of it to understand kind of their aspect. And then I also helped the client. So really, what I did was I just tried to learn the full circle so that then whoever came to me at the market, I could try to have an answer or at least know who to point them to. But really, I would say it was rewarding, and it's a great program.
So Felicia, you bring up a good point. Working with your local agencies, your senior agencies and your WIC agency, could each of you describe a little bit about what that looked like for you and your community, trying to work with those agencies? Did you have a relationship already? Did you have to establish one new? How did that kind of look for your community? Felicia, let's start with you this time.
Okay, I would say I was so blessed that I came into a role that already had some partnerships developed. So I know that the WIC agency had been with the Hill Farm Markets for many years. And then the first year I started was the first year that Aging and Home Services came on site. So I got to work with them for 3 years. And kind of what that looked like at our market is we would have the 2 agencies set up, you know, in a designated area. And we would advertise it that they were there so that then when WIC clients came, senior clients came, they could first see their representative, receive the benefits from that representative, And then we would have another designated station that had the double up fund. So if that, person got their senior vouchers, then they could come into the next tent and get that doubled. And then we also had a tent or designated spot for technology volunteers. And so I went around and asked, I believe Jered helped me with this too, and people from Parkview. But I went to all of our different partners and I asked them if they had any extra staff that could come to the market. And then if they could, then I kind of walked that staff member through some troubleshooting ideas for the technology and also just the steps to go about downloading the app, so that then when clients came, they first saw their representative, got, the approval email, and then they could go right from them to the volunteer station, and that volunteer helped them download the app just to try to make the process go a little faster. So we really try to hone in on all of our partners and just the community and see, how can we make this process a little smoother and faster as we're all learning it together.
Thank you. Diana, did you have a relationship with your senior agency or WIC agencies prior to this program?
Well, when I came in 3 years ago, I was coming at the tail end of COVID. So partnerships had been lost. Like I said, we had lost our SNAP. So with Becky, as I said, she pointed us in the right directions, helped us get those connections up and running again. And one connection can help another connection. I mean, we have at the office right in the center is where we do our double up, and directly across from us is where we have a WIC table. So when they come, they've got one certain spot, which is really important. I found out, keep them in one spot. We keep their advertising up. As soon as they know they're coming, they let me know, and I start promoting it that they're going to be coming. They're going to be in that spot. It's a group effort. For us, it was a group effort to get things back up after COVID and get them going the right direction.
Another plug for Becky and the CWCs. Thank you, Diana. You'll get commissions after the meeting. Tom, how about yourself?
Well, it's years back when we were doing the vouchers and stuff, we were struggling to get them to come in. And that's when we did what everybody else is doing. We moved her into the position of being at the market to give out her vouchers, and the seniors did the same thing. And here's where Legita will remember, that was the best thing we ever did, because we went from almost minimal amount of dollars up to a really, really big chunk of dollars. And I think that helps people understand how important this is, because those dollars went away when they started doing all the switching. And now that it's back, the vendors and the people are starting gaining more food in their households, and the vendors are going to be getting more dollars in their pockets. And I think that was the ultimate outcome of the whole thing, is working with each one, the senior people and the WIC people, getting them food is very important. And it's a struggle. So when you can put them all together in one group, you sit back and you go, this is the way it should be, where we can work together and make things happen to make that happen. So
Tom, that's a great point. I'd like to dive into that just a little bit deeper. So I agree. Felicia talked about how we in Fort Wayne had all of these agencies there at the market, the WIC agency and the senior, and it was just a beautiful partnership. You said that has been a recent transition for your market?
Well, I transitioned it, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago when we were doing the vouchers, because it just wasn't working when they were first putting them out for the farmers markets. We weren't getting any, and we moved the WIC girl in. She said, I can't get them to come to my office, let alone anywhere else, or force them to spend them. So we got them in our market, and they came, and I'm telling you what, it was so interesting to watch, because they actually blocked the aisleways off to get their vouchers and go spend them. I will tell you, the first year that happened, there was a lot of money that went through the market. That's just for the vendor, for your market people. The WIC vouchers and the SNAP things, there's dollars there to help your growers. You know, and the bonus part is people are getting food, good food, healthy food. Important factor for me. I think that's important for all of us to be getting food out. But it was a struggle in the beginning. It's become easier in the end. And as we move forward with all of this, it'll even become even more easy as we move along. So, you know, we're always learning.
So initially starting it because we wanted to make sure we get food to those in need, but it's a nice side effect that vendors were able to access a lot of new customers and increase their sales. That sounds like a really good transition. Felicia, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, like, so I had a good relationship with the WIC and the senior agencies, and they've mentioned to me that, you know, since they started coming on site to the markets, their redemption rates just increased so much. So I think that's like a huge plus. And a buy-in for them, you know, to be at your markets is because then their distribution rate increases, their redemption rate increases. And so I just wanted to put that out there, you know, as people are trying to network and find ways to, you know, ask their agencies to come to their markets, is that it helps those agencies have the redemption rates that they desire.
That's a fantastic point. So a win-win for everyone. And unless anyone wants to add to that or go on any further about the relationships between WIC and senior agencies and the markets, I'll jump on to the next question. And this one is, as you were implementing during the pilot year, were there any adjustments or modifications that you needed to make the process work better for you in your market? Diane, would you start with this one?
Adjustments. Our big adjustment was, like I said, we have some vendors who they did not have a computer. They still had flip phones. And I know I helped out with our market address, getting them up and going, and, you know, getting all the information where it needed to be. And customers, we had the same thing. You know, some of them, they didn't have the technology, but there was always one of us willing to help. And I think that's the big thing right now. In our market, we have a lot of older people, and that technology sometimes is the biggest barrier for them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, getting through some of that technology hurdles is a challenge. I think a lot of markets probably experience something similar. Felicia, do you want to share any adjustments or improvements that needed to be made throughout the season?
I would say our biggest adjustment that we did was having that like volunteer station to really help with the technology barriers. I think a big thing that we learned is a lot of the seniors, even if they had, you know, a smartphone, they weren't the one to set up their smartphone, and so they didn't know their Apple ID or their email. So although I wouldn't say that's like a farmer's market focus, it was something that we did where we got to kind of empower people to learn how to use their smartphones better. So like I'd help people set up emails, I help people learn how to get back into an email they couldn't find. So I think it was just being patient with folks, knowing that some folks that needed help just needed a little bit of help, and other folks, they needed all the help that they could get. So just, I guess that was our big adjustment, was kind of being mindful of that and being mindful of ways that we could help people through all the steps.
So market managers that have to know how to do a whole bunch of things that maybe aren't on the original job description. I think that's other duties as specified. Thomas, anything you'd like to share as far as adjustments your market had to make when implementing this program?
I think I'm like everybody else. It's just people just didn't know how to utilize it, how to use or what to do with. And I think that's what we have to do. I know this year, I'm expecting a lot of my regulars who come that are of my age, who don't know technology, and I know that I'm gonna spend some time with them, and that's okay. That's what we do. Hang on for 1 second. I'm sorry. Um, I have a dog that gets very boisterous, and you wouldn't be able to hear. But I think it's important that we learn to be patient with them, because I know it's more frustrating for them than it is for us. And I think the vendors are gonna be the same way. As we grow into this, they're gonna have the same struggles that we, as those that are just starting with it, have had, so we've gotta step up on them. And I think that's gonna be the key to it, is just, we just need to be able to work. I have an advantage, and I don't know if you do. I have a granddaughter who's pretty techie savvy. So she's actually gonna help me help them, which will be a good thing. So we're preparing for that now.
That's great to hear. So technology, that was one of the issues that maybe required some unique problem solving for your markets. If you well, before we get into some of the questions in the chat, I had one final one, and that was really basically, what's something that you would like to share with the other market managers that are on this call, or the vendors who are on this call? Again, this is a program that it's great for the market managers to know and to understand, but ultimately the burden lies on the vendors. And so what would you like to share regarding this program to either market managers or vendors? Felicia.
I would just say, as a market manager, you're in such a unique position where a lot of, at least for my experience has been, is that the vendors really kind of come to you for help, and you're in a unique position to do what you can to help them. And so I would just encourage you to, kind of, sometimes you have to take that extra step, though, go that extra mile to learn the different processes. But I would say it was definitely rewarding. And it helps. I don't know. I feel like it just really helped me with my relationship with my vendors, where it was not, they're on their own, but I want them to be part of this. But it was like, okay, we'll come together and we'll figure it out. And so that's kind of how I walked it, where I walked along each of the farmers. And I sometimes also, as a market manager, you're just a connector, where then I would see what I could do. And once I ran out of solutions and help, I turned to Jered and I'd say, Jered, please come meet with us. I'll be with my my farmer, because I understand this much of what they know. But would you meet with us? And so Jered was phenomenal, and I really do appreciate all the help that he had been this last year, and just helping make sure that our farmers were kind of understanding the new system and how it worked, and then helping me understand it, so that on Saturdays when they ran into an issue, they could always call me up, or I would already be there and I could just try to troubleshoot. So I would just encourage you to give it a try.
Thank you. Diana?
I would encourage any market manager that's even thinking about, going into this, give it a try. Be patient, be willing to ask for help. Your vendors are a good resource. You're a good resource. Becky, anybody that's out there right now, one little piece of information you give somebody may make that difference. And that market says, I'm going to do this. They know they've got help. That's the big thing. We know we've got help. We can ask the questions, and you're going to help us find the answers. And that's an important part that goes right in with patience. But do give it a try.
Thank you. Thomas?
Well, I just have to say what both Diana and Felicia said is important. I mean, you just have to be patient, work with everybody, understand who your connections are that you can actually help. Make a phone call to, you know, email to them to get what you need to know. And I know that if I ask really, really nice, they would even visit my market that day to help work through that. I'm pretty sure that I could ask that question and those like Rebecca would just say, yeah, we'll pick a date and we'll do something to help those people that need help. You know, we can set up something that makes it easier when somebody's faster than you do to get them involved or get somebody trained to help, you know, because I promise you, if anybody's like I am, sometimes I just don't have time to stop. I have other things going on, and so I have to have them be patient, give me a second or two and to do that. And you know, sometimes some people just aren't patient enough. They want it to happen yesterday. So we, you know, just be patient with them and deal with it. But I think we'll be fine. It'll be all right at the end of the day. We go through changes every year.
It's great advice. So we have quite a few questions in the chat. I'm going to go through and try to ask some of these. And any of you who if you feel like you would like to respond, just go ahead and respond. I'm not going to call you out individually. So just if you feel like you're equipped and able to answer the question, feel free to do so. The first one is, how often did you have agencies come out to the market and enroll community members?
So at the heel market, they were, for the most part, they were constantly there once the benefits became available. And really, just because of how this year rolled out, they were there through the whole season, where in years past, you know, when it was just the paper copy, the paper benefits, when they ran out of benefits is when they would be done at the markets. But this year, they were there for almost every single market once they received the benefits, you know, at their agency.
I had them, they actually set up times with me to come and be at the market. Where they just said, hey, we're gonna do it this date, this date, this date. Was that fine with you? And it's always fine, you know, I always try to make that work. But that's what my people did. They said, can we just come out on these dates and we'll pass that information on to the people that are gonna receive them. And it worked out well. So, you know, they'd be there 2 or 3 weeks, not in a row, but you know, maybe every other week or so. So that worked out good at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's how at our market they called us up and, you know, they were, we have this available, and I would take anything they could give me. You know, I got my little dedicated space. So I was like, whenever you can or you want to be here, please do. We want you here to help and, you know, keep this going.
Excellent. This next question is directed at Felicia. You had mentioned that you provided training to volunteers on how to assist seniors with the technology. Do you have any resources, or do you want to kind of explain a little bit further what that looked like in case anybody else wanted to do something similar?
Yeah, so what I had done, where I actually had like 3 different trainings that I kind of helped facilitate, or since I had such a close relationship with the WIC and senior agencies in Fort Wayne, I did one with them so I could just really learn what their side of it looked like. And so then I invited other partners in the heel markets to that training, saying, you know, if you want to just learn this aspect, because they're going to be overwhelmed, and then we can kind of touch, you know, step in when we can to help answer customers, clients. And I know Legita and her team, they made like a step-by-step guide, I want to say. And so that step-by-step guide had what it looked like on the client side. And that was a big thing for us, is just really understanding what it looked like on the client side. And so I kind of blew that up so it was bigger. And what I did was then, because I believe that there was like 10 steps for the whole process that a client had to go through. So then I blew those up and I put them either like on a chain link fence at one market we had them up on a whiteboard. And then, so I kind of had those visible. So maybe you were a customer that was a little more tech savvy, but you just didn't understand all the steps. Then you could just go straight to that board and look at it. But then I also did like a virtual training with volunteers so we could walk through all those steps together so that those volunteers then kind of had a really good foundation and understanding so that they could help at the market. And I would just say with some of the seniors, it was just things that I don't know, I guess I had in my toolbox, like, you know, I always forget my passwords. So I had that in my toolbox of how to reset passwords. But we also did have at our markets for some days a person who was just there to help people sign up for their emails so that then, you know, since an email was necessary for the benefits to be rolled out, then they could first stop with that person, get that email set up, and then go and see their agency to get the benefits. So I think in terms of resources, I want to say Legita and her team made a good resource last year, and I just made it bigger so that it was, you know, kind of one step at a time. So I had 10 laminated boards on a chain link fence, but then it helped people who kind of were a little more familiar with their technology. They could just go and follow those steps.
Thank you. Thomas or Diane, if you have anything you'd like to add, you're welcome to. Did you have any experiences training volunteers for this?
I am the volunteer. Being that it's kind of a new process, I've kind of kept it close. Now, like I said, my granddaughter helps me a lot. She knows how to do it, but you know, I've worked with her. But as far as training anybody else, I oversee the market. Everything comes. I don't have volunteers at my disposal. I pretty much try to handle everything other than when I absolutely have to have somebody, then we try to find somebody to help. So otherwise I do it, and I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind either. Becky came in and showed me and showed a couple of vendors. And then I went on to help a couple of vendors, and I had vendors helping vendors, which was really nice to see, you know, a one vendor to take that step up and help another vendor because maybe they didn't understand a step, you know, a piece of information that was greatly important to have, and they helped each other.
One of my favorite things to see at the heel markets in the past season was just that, Diana. It was seeing vendors helping vendors and customers helping customers. At least in the heel markets, there was the issue of some language barriers, and it was just great to see people helping each other. I think that goes back to the whole community thing that was discussed at the beginning. It really helped build community at the markets.
And
I agree with that.
I would
Go
also
ahead.
add that I had Jered come and do a training with all the farmers. So I gathered and I invited even farmers who weren't part of the Heel Farm Market, but just farmers that I knew, you know, were growing in Fort Wayne. I asked Jered if he would come to my office, and he did. And then I invited, I think there was about 4 or 5 farmers, so that they all kind of had that one-on-one walkthrough with Jered and all of his wonderful knowledge. And then I could kind of learn it so that then when they got stuck, I could try to jump in and help them troubleshoot.
You're way too nice, Felicia, but thank you. The next thing is this is the perfect opportunity to plug our in-person eFMNP events. Legita had shared those yesterday, but just like Felicia was mentioning, we did have some trainings for the farmers locally. But this year, Legita and well, a bunch of people are working together to really try to make it as easy as possible for vendors by having in-person events spread out throughout the state. So these 9 in-person events, if you as a market manager, we welcome you to come and learn all about the the system and encourage your farmers to attend as well, so that they can sign up. I'm sure that that information will be shared to everyone in attendance. The next question is, how do you deal with customer QR code and the paper code for those without the technology? Or what help or advice did you give the Amish? So did anyone work with the QR codes, the printable QR codes? Okay, doesn't look like anyone here did.
I can say though, for like instance, some of our clients and customers, they didn't have an email address. And so and especially on our Burmese speaking customers, they didn't have email addresses, but we had a Burmese interpreter there. And really what she did they used a lot of like the agency's email addresses where they could do like the +1 and then they could accept that email, but then they still had to have like the smartphone to use their benefits. But that's kind of how we got around some of the email issues. But we didn't do anything with the paper QR codes.
Jered, would you like me to explain to everybody how we deal with those paper QR codes?
Legita, you read my mind. That's perfect. Thank you.
Oh, okay. When you are processing the displayed QR code on the recipient's smartphone, it works exactly the same way as the paper QR code. They show it to you, you scan it with TotalPay Go, and it just works. So it's just those with the smartphone app have the map and all of their transaction information available in hand, and they display a new QR code with every purchase. Those with the printed QR code get one QR code that is valid for 30 days, and they have to keep in mind what they have remaining on that account.
And that QR code is to be treated like money. Is that correct? And they're one print per client?
That is correct. And we do not replace them if they're lost, stolen, or damaged.
Okay, thank you, Legita. The next question, and we're starting to run out of time here, but if you have any more questions, make sure you get them up in the chat and we'll try to go through these as quick as we can. If market staff or managers get trained, are they able to help vendors set up, or do vendors need to go to a training? We've had dozens of vendors participate in the past, and last year the hurdle was getting vendors to attend trainings, choose to set up the technology. Well, I think that if anyone wants to jump in and share how they did that, because we have 3 market managers here who were kind of trained on the system. How did you all tackle this?
Here's what I did for those 2 or the ones that I have. I just went to their booth because they were as frustrated, and we just walked through it right in their booth on a Saturday morning. I think one Saturday morning it was actually raining, and so we were standing in their booth and we worked it right then and there. Because at this point in time, I don't have that many vendors that can handle the SNAP. Because I have like 3 or 4 Amish vendors, and it's going to be interesting to see how we make that all come together. So.
Yeah, I was the same as Tom. I'd go down to their booth, where they were comfortable, where they could keep, doing sales and everything. I would go down there and we'd just work it through.
I would say same here. I would say that when Legita and her team they did like a training in Indianapolis. And so I really just encourage my farmers who could make it to go. So a lot of them went to that training, got some knowledge, and then we kind of regrouped and were able to find out the missing pieces that they didn't understand or that they needed extra help with.
Thank
I know
you.
for this,
Oh, let me jump in here just to clarify a couple of things. Novo Dia Group does provide one-on-one training to all newly enrolling vendors. It's a video training. They will walk them through step by step what they need to do. Also, we will have additional staff coming on board this summer. And we will have a dedicated commodities training and education person because we're expanding our teams here at WIC. And always ready, willing, and able to answer any questions from anyone. And the MarketLink team will be hosting a Facebook group for Indiana eFMNP. It would be a private group, so that we don't have people who have nothing to do with Indiana eFMNP in there. So I'm really excited about that. Sorry to interrupt, Jerry, but you know I do.
You can interrupt anytime, Legita. Thank you. So the next thing in the chat that we have is Becky had mentioned having a map of the markets with vendors that are eFMNP. And then Sarah says that they've had a lot of success with that as well. Did any of your markets do something similar, or how did that look for you?
Yeah, we did. We had a market map. So we had one big one up at the front desk, and then we actually made smaller copies so we could hand them out when they questioned. We could give them the map and even, walk them down to where they wanted to be. So yeah, a map is a really good idea.
Well, they all were given a sign to hang on their booth. And inevitably, I get somebody said, well, I don't even know who to go to. They don't hang their signs up. I've made it a point to go around and make sure that their signs, we accept WIC, we accept SNAP, are hanging out in plain sight where they can see them. And I don't have a map because somebody comes to me and they say, where are they at? I can actually point to them, which is kind of nice. The way my market's set up is I can pretty much point to any vendor I want standing in one position. So it works out good for me to do it that way. I could make a map, but that could change every other week or so. We could, depending on the vendors that are there.
Well, Tom, I'm sure Legita appreciates you making sure that the signs are up. I know that is a requirement to have those signs up. So thank you. Felicia, did you? I saw you go on mute.
I would just say, so at the Hill Markets, it's kind of like 3 markets. And so for 2 out of the 3, all of the vendors are approved to accept it. So that makes it super easy because then everyone can accept the funds. And then we're also inside of the Southside Farmers Market. And in that market, for the most part of the season, all the farmers were approved to accept it. But then, as produce comes in kind of throughout the harvest season, sometimes there'd be another grower that would be there who couldn't accept it. And so then when customers came in, they asked, and it was a small enough market that we could just point them out, just as Tom said.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, it is 2 o'clock, so I don't want to go over. I just want to say thank you to each of you for being willing to participate in this panel. And additionally, in the chat, there is a link for the surveys. So please go check out those survey links and fill those out. Also, Legita had pointed or had posted links to the in-person FMNP events. So if you want to know which event is closest to you, you can click on that link and go down. And if you click on off to the side, the city that you are closest to, it will take you to the registration link for those events. I think that's it. Thank you again for participating.
I also want to thank Jered and Tom, Felicia, and Diana for an awesome session. You guys are rock stars with eFMNP. So thank you. We appreciate all that you do.